All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first ever simplified podcast version. I don't yet have a name for this, but basically this will be the on YouTube version of our podcast that is a lot shorter than previously what we've been doing. And we'll just go over some of the highlights. It's also May 1st, which means it is our first day of Minimal May. This is the second annual Minimal May, and the month is all about trying to help you simplify your life. If you haven't yet started on a minimalist journey, or even if you have no intention of having a minimalist journey, I think there's small things that we can all do to help really simplify what we have. Getting started to talk about this episode of the podcast, this particular episode really addresses how do you move forward, whatever journey you're on, if someone you really love, such as a spouse, as a family member, friend, etc., how do you move forward on that journey, even if they are kind of against you or not interested in the way that you would like them to be, not as supportive as you'd like them to be? This can be a really challenging experience. I know, luckily for me, I haven't really had to deal with it much. I've been very lucky that my friends and family and Jake have always been very supportive of the decisions that I've wanted to make. But this can definitely be really challenging, and I think it holds a lot of people back. Some of the main ideas that we discussed in our podcast episode, really making sure that you're patient with the transformations, trying to see if there are small steps that you can take with this other person in mind, whether it is something that like an activity you guys can do together or some sort of step that you can work on mutually at the same time helping each other out. So I think that could be helpful. Trying to make sure that you are not forcing them to make a choice, but emphasize the fact that it is a choice and they will either choose one way or another, and that's ultimately up to them if you value them and the relationship over whatever the value is or the transition that's happening. Also, as is important with most relationship-related questions, communication is critical. Be upfront with the person, with your loved one, about why it's important to you to be living your life in this new way. And if they do love you and care about you, like you'd assume one would in these kind of relationships, then they might start to see that a little bit more from your side. And ultimately, if all else fails, we encourage you to be the example. If you live in accordance to the values that you say you do, then you're a perfect example of what can happen. And if they notice that you start to really flourish from this new transition, then maybe it will be something that encourages them to also go forward and make that decision. So those are some of the very brief highlights that we discussed on episode 9 of the Abundantly Minimal podcast. If you're curious for more details and examples about some of these topics and want to go in more depth, feel free to check out the full episode on iTunes if you search Abundantly Minimal, or check it out for the full versions on the website abundantlyminimal.com. We hope you'll join us for the rest of the month on abundantlyminimal.com for Minimal May. And on YouTube, you can also check out all of our daily videos this month. We're really excited to share those with you. So have a lovely rest of your day. Bye.